You are welcome this morning in the land of the living. This morning, we are going to listen to some of the broadcasts of mazi and about Biafra, Nigeria, and the world. We learn one or two things. Please, I would like you to invite your friends to this video, to this live broadcast. Make your comment, drop your comment. It's a free place. Your opinion is wanted. Just like, share, and subscribe to these videos. Let's go.
Good evening, wonderful people, great dear friends all over the world, wherever you are. We are welcoming you to another live address on this very day. Today is the 19th day of July in the year of our Most High Elohim 2019. With the time now standing at, should I say, precisely 7 p.m. in the holy land of Biafra, I welcome each and every one of you, regardless of where you are domiciled around the world. If this is your first time of joining Radio Biafra, I welcome you especially, and as I do so, I will indulge you to also welcome those of your friends, your relatives, and your family who you think might be able to benefit from this very redeeming gospel this very evening. I say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to some of you, depending on where you are residing, depending on where you are domiciled across the entire 24 time zones of this very world, where I believe very confidently that Radio Biafra is being received at this precise moment. Without further hesitation, we must proceed. My name is Nnamdi Kanu. I am the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, and by the grace of the Most High Elohim, the servant of the wonderful people of Biafra. Our job is to restore Biafra. Our mission is to enthrone justice and fairness, and we are not going to fail, not because we possess any extraordinary powers that are not gifted to other men, but because we are under divine instruction. We are under celestial supervision, and that is why Biafra will be restored in our time and in this very moment. Therefore, we must pray. We must dedicate our proceedings this very evening to the Most High, because without Chukwukika we are nothing. We couldn't be where we are today, and there is no way we would have withstood and overcome all the shenanigans of the enemies, even those within. We must pray. Wherever you are, you will lower your heads, because we worship the one true living Elohim, the Most High Chukwukika, our Lord and our God and our Redeemer. We do not worship idols. We do not worship anything made by man or born by flesh. We must worship the Most High in truth and in spirit. We must proceed, and this evening I will pray in English, because we know that our audience are gathering all over the world. Some people plead and beg that they wish to partake in the blessing emanating from Radio Biafra. Anytime we are privileged to address the wonderful people of Biafra, it is a unique honor to welcome each and every one of you. Right, we are online, we are on FM, and we are on Facebook precisely. If you look for us, you will find us. This is where we propagate this very gospel. where the truth is not only spoken, but preached on a daily basis. That is why Elohim is with us. And that is why our enemies are floundering from place to place. They cannot replicate what we are doing because sometimes we don't even know what we are doing. We are being directed all the way from heaven. And that is why we are unstoppable. That is why Ruga will not take hold nor function. That is why the disintegration of the damnable zoological republic is inescapable. They cannot escape it. Therefore we pray, God of ages, the ancient of days, praised be your holy name forever. In your sight, from generation to generation, from time immemorial, nations rise and fall. We are passing through a time of peril. Now our land is troubled. Enemies from far barren and arid lands of the north have descended upon your children like a dark cloud from the deepest recesses of hell. Be near us, O Lord, to judge and to save. Strengthen our resolve. Strengthen IPOB to give witness to these truths by the way that we live. May we, your servants in Biafra, be led by your wisdom. May we search your will and see it clearly. If we have turned from your way, which we know we have, please have mercy upon us and help us to reverse our path and to repent. Give the leaders of all oppressed ethnic nationalities in Nigeria the wisdom to recognize the evil that is confronting us all. Give them the grace to know what is right and the courage to do that can save all of us. You have said that blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. Biafra is your nation, O Lord. You created it and not man. You are our God, so we do not worship man nor idol. This proclamation we make this very day and always, as our forefathers did before us, as they did before the British came. Give us your light and your truth to guide us through your mercy as our Lord and as our Savior. Because you remain forever, you do not change, so shall your creation Biafra endure. May this be an era for Biafra and all those who are struggling with the yoke of oppression in Nigeria, as we humble ourselves and acknowledge you as the author and finisher of our faith. This we pray in your holy name. Now and forevermore. He said, where we must proceed. We are live and we are direct. And the whole world, the entirety of humanity is listening. We have been working tirelessly hard to ensure that we mobilize our people against the hordes of wickedness from the north. They will never prevail. The gates of hell can never ever prevail over the children of light. For we are descended from heaven itself, and there is nothing any mortal man can do to extinguish this very light of hope. We have come that the blind may see. We have come that even those who cannot speak may rise up and find a voice. We have come to break the chains of bondage. That is what we represent. That is what we have been mandated to do. And that is a mission we are going to accomplish in our time. This evening, I bring to you a very special program. Dedicated, I will say, to those of you in position of common sense, because common sense in the damnable zoological republic is in very short supply. Therefore, we must do the needful. Therefore, we must do that which is right, which is to preach this very gospel without compromise or fear, without any favors whatsoever. But Chukwukika Biamama love us. A very simple question unraveled the hopelessness and the crass stupidity of the entire judicial structure in the zoo. Only one simple question, and the zoo fell apart. That question we shall revisit this very evening, and the consequences that flew from it. Because we have been saying this time immemorial, that Nigeria they allow us to live in peace, the better, or else the scenario of Somalia is coming, and nobody can escape it. Everything we proclaim here comes to pass. The same thing I said about Britain, that Britain doesn't know what is bothering it. Britain is not aware of the calamity that is about to befall it and the reason why. The reason is Biafra. Perhaps they may be too arrogant to acknowledge it. But because of Biafra, Chukwukika would decimate Britain. Mark my words, and is it not happening today? The same way that I say to you that the fate of Nigeria will be worse than that of Somalia, unless they allow us to go. They do not have any choice anyway, because in the end, Biafra is going to be free. This evening, I start this very program by making reference, which I shall, of course, play the cues for you later on as we proceed. It's about a particular man, a man by all intent and purposes should be a Panwine Papa. But unfortunately, because he was born in the bereft of any decent nor proper education, he smuggled his way into the Sharia system of justice by virtue of his Wahhabi fundamentalist disposition. Sometimes I don't want to be too grammatical on radio, Biafra, because our mothers are listening, our grandmothers are listening in our villages. I want to come across in a manner that this very message can be conveyed to the grassroots without the need for interpretation. So sometimes if I tend to dumb down my English, it is to try, or should I say grammar, it is to try and aid the transmission of this very message to those that need it most. You must please excuse me. The so-called Nigeria is at a precipice. It is crumbling and collapsing on a daily basis. And the reason why it is collapsing is because mediocrity and evil is at the helm of affairs. No other episode properly encapsulates the dire state of Nigeria than the so-called shambolic Senate confirmation of Muhammad Tanko, the new Chief Justice of Nigeria. Anybody who endured that very program as it was screened live across a plethora of channels, you will know that it is cringe-worthy. That is how sad it is. You begin to feel ashamed of yourself for having to watch such a very wretched and pathetic display from somebody they claim should be at the helm of the entire judicial structure in Nigeria. Anybody that complained or had any word to say against President Donald Trump because he referred to some states in Africa, especially Nigeria, as a shithole, After watching this very video, you will go and apologize to Donald Trump. You will know that he was being too kind to Nigeria. Abaribe is a very clever man. After all, it takes a very clever man to stand up and defend the rights of his people, which is what he has done in the past, he is doing now, and will continue to do. This was cool, and what should rightly lead to the disqualification of Muhammad Tanko as the newly confirmed CJN of the damnable Zoological Republic. This was Abaribe's question, and I quote, in the 2018 case of Akere versus Abraham, the Supreme Court said, technicality in the administration of justice shuts out justice, and went further to say, it is therefore better to have a case heard and determined on its merit than to leave the court with the shield of victory obtained on mere technicality. I continue. This is the Supreme Court, so we are happy with that. But my Lord, mind you, Abaribe called I will say illiterate, but I will say poorly educated Muhammad Tanko a Lord. I don't hear people complaining. Everybody refer to him as a Lord. He called him a Lord. Nobody's complaining. Everybody said, my Lord, just a few weeks ago, the Supreme Court also said the correct order is to declare the judgment of the trial tribunal a nullity, as one of the panelists was sitting on the day of the proceedings were held. This is the case of Osun State governorship election that was caused all of this. What is playing out here is that there is something called precedent in law. There is something also called, should I call it rules of engagement, or should I call it ethics or code of conduct? Something that the administration of justice and law itself is predicated upon. They are irreducible. And everything is very simple, as we shall demonstrate later on. Always citing and making reference to previous cases and how the judgment went. Precedent. You find the president always playing a key part or role in common law, not civil law, but common law, which the so-called Nigeria practices. But you will begin to find out this evening that even the Supreme Court of Nigeria do not obey their own precedent. One Supreme Court judgment will come in total contradiction of what another Supreme Court session said. Unbelievable. And the legislators that should be clearing up all this mess, this what I call judicial maze, when there are conflicting interpretations of the law by the apex court, they are impotent, they are weak, they are useless, as we shall demonstrate this very evening. And I believe they continue to say, and so Nigerians are really worried. Where will the Supreme Court stand under you? Where would justice be, and what can we expect from the Supreme Court under you? In his convoluted response, Muhammad Tanko, the Fulani Sharia now confirmed Chief Justice, he was a Fulani magistrate. I said magistrate. Sharia law magistrate. You don't have to go to school. You just go to a Quranic school, an Islamic evening class. And out of your zealousness for Islam, you could be appointed a Sharia magistrate or a Sharia judge, as the case may be. That was how he climbed to become the Chief Justice of Nigeria. Sharia law, Sharia, yes. We must proceed. In his convoluted response, Tanko defined technicality because Adeleke was making reference to technicality. The reason why Adeleke did not win was because the judge or somebody sat to read the judgment that didn't sit during the trial, or vice versa. We shall get to the details later. Because of that, they said Adeleke did not win anymore. They gave it to APC based on technicality. And they're asking him, what are the remedial steps you're going to take to ensure that this type of technicality fades into significance when a very monumental case is under consideration, such as the Osun State governorship election? And then Tanko defined technicality as something technical and went ahead to compare technicality with the inability of a judge such as to effectively drive an aeroplane. You know what they call legal technicality? It is very simple. Legal technicality exists to serve one purpose, to make sure that both the government, all legal practitioners follow set down rules and procedure. It's as simple as that. When the law says that if you somebody, you must arraign them before a magistrate within 48 hours, and you don't, regardless of the gravity of that very offense or crime, that person should be set free because you have broken the law. Not minding the offense he or she may have committed. For having broken a statute, a law recognized in the Constitution, it counts as technicality because the substance of the matter or the criminality is no longer under consideration. What the circumstances surrounding that very case? That is what technicality is. Very simple. A child knows it, but do you know that the Chief Justice of Nigeria, newly confirmed, does not know this? He said it is like driving an aeroplane. That he's not qualified, he's not a pilot. Why should he go and drive an aeroplane since he's not qualified? They are asking about technicality. In a law, he's talking about the aeroplane flying up in the sky. He is Fulani, and he is your new Chief Justice of Nigeria. And there are learned people. There are learned judges that could have occupied that very position. But due to the despotic nature of the zoo called Nigeria, it must be Fulani man. It must be. Onogan was removed. It must be Fulani. Because Buhari, before he died, came with this very agenda of Fulanization of jihad. It doesn't matter what you say. Every arm of government must be occupied by a Fulani. And some of you indulged them. Now they feel emboldened and empowered. They can do whatever they want. Up to bringing somebody who in my village is not qualified to be a Panwine Tapa. But today he's the Chief Justice of the zoo. That's his reply on technicality of law that everybody knows. He doesn't know it. A Chief Justice. But he's tomorrow they say, my Lord, he's in the Supreme Court, my Lord. Muhammad Tanko. He's an elite. An elite. He is, I don't, people or human beings are not meant or supposed to know everything. I agree. But when you have put yourself forward to be considered for a very lofty position as that of a Chief Justice, and you don't even know what the job entails, you don't know what the whole Nigerian jurisprudence is all about. You wrap all this nonsense. I mean, those that write his speeches for him. Because how you catch Nigeria's so-called fake elite is just a microphone in front of them and begin to ask them questions without the benefit of their notes prepared for them by those who are actually educated. You see them floundering all over the place. That's what just happened. He's the Chief Justice of Nigeria. And tomorrow to be swept under the carpet because Tinubu wants to be president. So it doesn't matter. This is not important. But some of you do not know the position of this very matter. It means that Nigeria is now effectively under a Sharia legal system, if you do not know. It is in the constitution. A Sharia judge can sit at the appeal court without the benefit of proper education, without of understanding what common law is all about. Because for you to understand common law, which the British gave to Nigeria, that they created, you must, of course, study English law. You must understand English language. You must understand how English common law actually works. How can you bring somebody from a Sharia disposition and bring him to pretend over British common law that he doesn't understand? Now you see the problem with the zoo. All these internal contradictions is the reason why I keep saying that there is something fundamentally wrong with the brain of we Black Africans. Because something must be wrong somewhere. Why would you put a square peg into a round hole? Because it will never fit. Never ever fit. Why appoint a Sharia magistrate to become the Chief Justice of a country that operates a different legal system by the 12 states of the North? Do you see what these planners are doing? Only 12 states of the North. But they must impose it. They impose Sharia on everybody. They are now imposing Sharia on the legal system. Tell to us, some people say, oh, we don't want to fight war. Who's talking about war? It's about justice, fairness, and of course, freedom for the oppressed. That's what we're fighting for. We know some will come and go, but IPOB shall remain until victory is assured. We will liberate them, they shouldn't worry. But capitulating under Fulani pressure, not even up to 48 hours, is just doesn't speak well of these people and their leadership qualities. That's not how to lead the people. But we must continue. Tanko defined technicality as trying to drive an aeroplane. He's not qualified, so he's not technical. You know, anything to do with technology is technical. That's the way they say it. And because of that, because there is the word technicality is derived from technical, so to speak. Because of that, he lost every sense of what technicality is all about and dwelt on technical. Telling you we cannot fly an aeroplane. Chief Justice of Nigeria. There you go. Now, let me tell you what this Tanko said, so you understand it very well. And the implication of what he uttered has for people. Like I was said, because he made reference to which of course is subjudice. Subjudice means you don't talk about a live case in public. The same thing that Buhari did before he died during his interview. December 31st, 2015, saying that I will be in jail, is exactly what this man did. And he knows that based on his utterances in the Senate, the case is dead because it's subjudice. But he doesn't know. How can he know what subjudice is? He's coming from Sharia now. How can he know? He's a Sharia magistrate. These are the dangers of Abdul Salami Abubakar's 1999 constitution. When we campaigned against it, people didn't quite understand the meaning of it. Because we are Black African people, we don't know that laws can affect our lives. The chickens have now come from Jerusalem. We shall see. This is what Tanko said. Now, this is Tanko. I'm not, he wasn't as fluid as this. I will play the clip for you later on so you understand it. Now, if something which is technical comes before the court, if something which is technical comes, not technicality, if something which is technical comes before the court, what we do in trial court is to ask people who are experts in that field to come and testify. Rely on their testimony because they are experts in that very field. Oh, goodness me. Do you know that this mad Sharia judge doesn't know that technicality is different from calling an expert witness? Again, you know, calling an expert witness, when somebody feigns insanity and doesn't want to stand trial, you go and call a psychiatrist or a psychologist or whoever in the medical field that is appropriate to come and testify if that person can stand trial or not. That is an expert witness. Or when there is a problem in ballistics or in a crime scene, you call an expert to explain the trajectory of a bullet. Should that very fact be contested in a murder case, where the murder weapon is a gun or a rifle. That is an expert witness. This man doesn't know the difference between an expert witness and technicality in law. And he is the Chief Justice of Nigeria. And you have people who are senior advocates. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I'm going to tell the whole world about this. Not just tonight. We're going to write to every judicial formation around the world, in every nation, to draw the attention to what Nigeria have just done. It defies logic. This is a whole Chief Justice of the Federation. He does not know the meaning of technicality in law, and an expert witness called by whoever to testify before a court. What sort of planet do these retards actually occupy? Both those who are in the Senate, of course, apart from Abarigo, the rest of the baboons questioning him. What? I can't understand these people. And they're saying, my Lord, the idiot is not making any sense. Maybe he's their Lord, because it's Fulani, and they control CBN, they control all the money, they control the contracts, they control the army, they control the police, they control fire brigade even.
Hello?
So they decide who lives and who dies.
Well, good afternoon.
Can you now see where Binta Inyako got her impetus to mention Sharia in her court? Do you see it? The Sharia magistrate.
What's the price of that one?
Somehow made it all the way to become the Chief Justice of Nigeria.
5,000 market is
Christian from the south was kicked out. Some dirty pigs made noise as to what will happen.
5,000
from Northern where to be sacked. Oloyen was eventually sacked, and nothing happened. Those of you in the southern part of the zoo called Nigeria, you carried on as if nothing happened. And I always identify this problem. The problem that we are having is the Muslim half of the Yoruba population, because they have spirit loyalty. They don't know if it's to obey the Sultan in Sokoto or to do that which is right, which is to rebel against their Fulani masters. This man disgraced Nigeria and its entire legal profession. He went on to say, ask me anything about aeroplane. I don't know. Ask me to drive an aeroplane. As somebody quite rightly noted, who would want to be a passenger in an aeroplane being piloted by Mohammed Tanko? Who would be mad to enter such an aeroplane? He said, this is Muhammad Tanko. I am sure you will get out of the plane because it is something that requires technicality. Now plane has technicality. No longer technicality. Do you see how he's somersaulting? Because he doesn't know what to do. You know, when you're answering a question, in fact, he didn't prepare for it. But of course, somebody who is an old boy, he went to Government College Omwanya, I think the finest secondary school there was in those days. The finest in the world, I tell you that. Government College Omwanya had a very fine. Fisher High School was called before the Christian Government College Omwanya. Very, very good. He was there as an old boy. One simple question, and the entire edifice, the corrupt judicial edifice in the zoo has come to the floor. And tomorrow, some Yoruba media houses will say, hey, it doesn't matter, let's move on, because they want to be president in 2023. I'm sure you'll get out of the plane, according to your new CJN, for those of you in the zoo. It has technicality. The plane now has technicality, not the law. But the law before had technical. The plane has technicality. Whereas the question was technicality in law. Because what it means is everything upside down, like the zoo is. In the one Nigeria, mad lunatics everywhere. This is disgraceful. Some people call it a travesty. I don't think it is that. It shows the world that we Africans are baboons indeed. We are animals. I'm telling you, we are useless. Maybe we are one or two chromosomes short of a complete human being. I'm telling you. All of you campaigning and crying, oh, we are equal to the white people, equality, you're talking rubbish. You continue to behave like animals every blessed day, and you want to be regarded as a human being. You are joking. You are deluded. It can never happen. You brought somebody whose education is not higher than that of a caliber monkey. You brought him to be your Chief Justice of Nigeria, and you want the world to respect you. You want America to give you visa. You want to be treated as a human being. Of course not. You have shown that you're a fool. The zoo is doomed. Chief Justice. In every plane is technicality. In the court of law is technical. Now let me, as a layman, educate Tanko. I didn't go to law school. I did as an elective when I was in university in England. The very basic mundane law, that is. But I want to educate Tanko as to what technicality in law means. And I will use case authorities in the zoo, coming from the own Supreme Court, to highlight not only their inconsistencies in the interpretation of their own laws, but their stupidity. I can tell you tonight that we black people, we are not mentally developed enough to practice law, written down law. I'm telling you the truth, we are not. We should stop pretending we can, because we cannot. We do not obey the laws that we have written. So why are you wasting your time writing laws that you know you cannot obey? Now you understand what we're fighting for, Biafra. To come away from this disgraceful existence in the zoo, and wider Africa, I hasten to add, to come away from this nonsense, this damnable zoological republic. Come away from, that's what we're doing. I start from a case. There is one Osarian versus Osarian, I think, I don't want to get it wrong, I think it's a Benin versus Federal Republic of Nigeria 2018. We will go there, it is there. It's at the Supreme Court. And this is what they said. Now I want to begin to show you how useless Nigeria is. Even the Supreme Court. I want to prove to you that all those people you see there, Chief Justice, Chief Judge, Judge of the Appellate Court, all these people are they. Oh dear me. What a whole Supreme Court is saying is that the Constitution of Nigeria is useless by this very pronouncement. Do you know why? And I will tell you. Technicality is when people rely on the legality of a particular case, argue in their own favor. And I'll give you a very simple example. The law says that if the prosecutor does not come to court, is it 3 or 5 times or whatever, the case will be struck off. You've been detaining somebody for very many years. You accuse them of a crime. Now, proof to people is that the entire mindset of the Nigerian judiciary, of the jurisprudence, is actually civil law and not common law. Where there is, once you've been arrested by the police, there is a presumption that you're guilty. until you prove yourself innocent. Whereas in common law is presumption of innocence before being found guilty. That is why the whole Supreme Court, Supreme Court, the highest, they said that people cannot rely on the guy on what's it called again, technicality, to drown the merits of a case. You have not convicted that person. So you, the judge, how are you sure that the case has merit? We are just asking. So that the police brought somebody before your court doesn't mean the person is guilty. By saying this, you're saying that people should not rely on what is technicality, by the way? It is that unseen hand. I call it the rule of engagement or legal ethics. It's the same way that the gravity works around the world. Who can see gravity? Cannot see it, but it is what keeps the Earth and other planetary bodies revolving or rotating around the sun. Without that very gravity exerted by the sun, we will fly off into deep space, never to return, and everything will. For human beings to be alive on this very earth, there is a force at work which you cannot see. It's called gravity, exerted by the sun. The same way the earth has gravitational pull on the moon to lock the moon in place. Without that very basic natural law and order, everything will be chaotic. You see how Elohim made the world? The same thing happens in law and with every other aspect of life. If you come to chemistry, to mathematics, to physics, to everything obeys a natural, that is a law governing it. Go and study Pythagoras, the great mathematicians. There's always a law governing everything in life. As night follows day, there must be a law. Imagine waking up one morning and the whole earth is reversed. Everybody will go crazy. There is no more night or no more day. What will you do? You will go mad, won't you? What the Supreme Court, I don't know if we have time. I don't want people to be tired. I don't want people to get tired and start complaining about data. Go on. Do you understand how the law works even in nature? If you go and disrupt gravity, you introduce chaos. If you go and do away with technicality, what is the technicality? Doesn't come from thin air. Technicality comes as a result of laws or statutes you have already made. It was your constitution that said, the Constitution of Nigeria says, I said the highest law in the land says, if you arrest somebody, you abduct them, you kidnap them, as DSS does all the time, and you detain them for over 3 months, for over 90 days, without taking them to court, they qualify for bail automatically. That is what the Constitution says. It said nothing about discretion. The discretionary provision came as a result of an act of Parliament. Should I say the National Assembly of the Zoo? And the same Constitution says that any laws made by the National Assembly of Nigeria that is in conflict with any part of this Constitution, that law is null and void. His law is their own law. It's in the Constitution. Go and read it very well. Here, they are saying you cannot introduce technique. In other words, if I'm arrested wrongly or wrongfully, as they did to me, and many other Biafrans who are languishing in jail and DSS custody, the law says we ought to be released after 3 months without trial. You're holding on to them. When we come to court, I have the discretion. Supreme Court said there's something wrong with technicality. We must hold. But Mr. George or Mrs. George, how are you sure I'm actually guilty of the crime that I'm being held for without trial? How do you know? In Awafa, do you control? Did you see into the future? Or has that film, what's his name again? The guy that did Top Gun. What's his name again? No, not Bruce Willis. What's his name? I don't know what is happening to me. It's not my name. What's his name now? The very good, very fine actor that did Mission Impossible too. He did a film called Minority Report. I think it's Tom Cruise, actually. It's Tom Cruise. Everyone should go and watch that very movie. It's very, very instructive. Go and watch it. It's called Minority Report. In that Minority Report, they use what they call it, no, so to speak. Fortune tellers to tell you who is guilty. In fact, to tell you about the crime that will happen in the future. Until it happened to one of them. Now they knew that the whole program was faulty. Go and watch it. I suggest that every judge in Nigeria should go and watch Tom Cruise's Minority Report. It's a movie. Go and watch it. Who knows? They will not even learn. Because after watching it, they'll go and watch another crappy Hollywood movie and forget all about it. As I said, technicality is an unwritten code. It stops everybody from misbehaving and actually going against the law. You arrested somebody on a speeding offense, and you come to court and you change it to how can I put it, to reckless endangerment. And they are contesting it to say this is not the original crime for which you charged me for, and you have no evidence. You're saying it's a technicality, I won't entertain it. Are you shocked that this was what Buhari did before he died? In my case, Ademola gave me bail. Shuaibu gave me bail. He said no. Because in his mind, the charge of reasonable felony means you must have done something wrong. Without proof, without evidence. That is Nigeria for you. Very hopeless. And why we black people we are not well, to be honest with you. It's in the already stage, honestly, we are not complete. Our brain is not complete. This very Supreme Court ruling was what Abaribo was referring to. He said to Tanko, you people said you shouldn't, nobody should rely on technicality. But how come in the case of Adeleke or shouldn't gubernatorial election, people are not relying on technicality to give it to the APC? To be the rubbish. We must continue. He veered off into, that is Alice in Wonderland. Does he have a driving license? I'm not sure he does. Talk less of driving an aeroplane. The same Supreme Court also said in federal government of Nigeria, FRN versus Dairo in 2015, rules of court are meant to be obeyed. Are you listening? Rules of court are meant to be obeyed. But in the previous one, Supreme Court said it shouldn't be obeyed. Another one, they said it should be obeyed. These are learned men and wig is silk. They call them learned silk. You can see them now. Supreme Court judge. One judgment says technicality should be disregarded. Another one says you must obey it. And another one went on to say that obedience to rules must not be slavish to the point that justice in a case is destroyed or thrown overboard. What do you mean by that? Obedience to the rules. What they meant to say is the Constitution. Nigeria does not operate the common law system. What they're saying is that what the Constitution says that it don't present any compelling evidence to justify the detention of somebody or their conviction. They should be, no, they're saying no. The fact you have been charged with murder means you must have done it. That's what it means now. Therefore, they said, if in the course of doing justice some harm is done to some procedural rule, which cuts the rule, the court should be happy that it takes such a line of action. In other words, if the court disobeys its own laws, everybody should be happy. As long as the person they claim is the accused is in detention. This is Supreme Court in a country. No, it's not. So there you have it. Malam Justice Tanko. Technicality simply means anything that prevents the court from deciding a case on its merit. Oh dear Lord, more often than not. It is some rule of court, such as missing filing deadlines. The law says you must file 3 days after this, or you must disclose all the documents you have to the defense team. And you failed to do it. And you come to court as a defense attorney and you're saying to them, you failed to obey the rules, therefore I am asking for this case to be struck off. The judge will say no, I won't strike it off because the charge is so heinous, it is not payable. But come on, the rule says that you must furnish them with the information within the specified or specific period of time. Let me tell you what happens if you don't do it. Technicality is there to hold everybody in check, as gravity does to every heavenly body that you see around you. Because without technicality, people, if you can become somebody forever now. I said, oh, well, my Lord, we don't have the time to file any papers. We don't know, we'll use the file. You can become somebody forever now. If there is no technicality, you will detain people forever and ever. That is the meaning of it. And that is not justice, is it? But they don't, these are black people. They don't know. Nobody should blame us sometimes. We just don't know. Our brains are not developed to comprehend the complexities of law. Now let us look at the dictionary definition of technicality. According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, it defines it simply as a small detail in the rule of law, and especially one that forces an unwanted and unexpected result. The fact that you don't want it is unexpected doesn't mean that it is not valid. It's as simple as that. This is valid, of course it is. Very, very valid. It has absolutely nothing to do with the knowledge of technology, as Kanu was trying to imply, or as he explicitly implied. This is about driving an aeroplane. It's technical. And will you come to join me in an aeroplane? A chief judge, or should I say chief justice of the nation. And tomorrow he will be there. Like they are transmitting confusion. The edge of leaders. He's full and nobody can touch him. For all we know, they can bring a wheelbarrow pusher, a truck pusher, and make him say, nobody, nothing. As long as Tinubu wants to be president, Yorubas, not all of them, some of them will comply. Especially Yoruba Muslims, of course, which is one. Let's continue. Technicality is a branch of law by a small detail of a set of rules as contrasted with the intent or purpose of rules. Simple. You have brought somebody to court, you want to kill them, you want to jail them. And they are saying that there are some things you didn't do right, because if everybody keeps doing whatever they want, the court cannot function. The legal system will collapse. That is what technicality is all about. To ensure that the legal system does not collapse. It doesn't mean flying an aeroplane. Oh dear. In this way. Maybe having special and unusually practical knowledge, especially of the mechanical or scientific subjects, has made the Zulu to have a Fulani illiterate as their chief justice. We stark illiterate. Maybe it's about time we delve into what actually transpired for the world to know that not making anything up. Imonara has no propaganda. That IPOB is involved in propaganda. We want to tell the whole world that we are not involved in propaganda. That what we are saying is actually the truth. And we're going to play you a small clip, a very tiny clip as to what's actually transpired. So you can all make up your minds as to what is actually going on in the zoo. What the whole nonsense is all about in the zoo. Because it is simply unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable what people are prepared to put up with inside the place you call Nigeria. It is unbelievable what they are prepared to put up with. Absolutely unbelievable. We must proceed. I will play it for you, so you will see it for yourself. What is actually happening inside the zoo? How technicality. Let's hear this.
My Lord, the Senate President has restricted us 2 questions, but I will just take 1 question, very small one, and then an advice. My question is on the philosophy of the Supreme Court. My Lord, in 2018, Akeredolu versus Abraham, I can quote the Supreme Court, if you permit. The Supreme Court said, technicality in the administration of justice shuts out justice. And went further to say that it is therefore better to have a case heard and determined on its merits than to leave the court with the shield of victory obtained on mere technicality. This Supreme Court. So we're very happy with that. But my Lord, just a few weeks ago, the Supreme Court also said, and I quote, the correct order to make is to declare the judgment of the trial tribunal a nullity as a result of one of the panels not sitting on a day proceedings were held. And so Nigerians are really worried. Where would this Supreme Court be situated? We would like to know from you, under you, where justice will be, not where justice will be, what we can expect from the Supreme Court under you. The second part, my Lord, is an advice. The country is in very serious trouble, and we all know. And we see the court as the institution that will help us to be able to navigate out of the difficulties we are in today. And so, my advice, my Lord, is that this Supreme Court under you must continue to put Nigeria before any other thing, so that we can have a country. Because if we don't have a country, there will be no Senate, there will be no Supreme Court, there will be nothing except a Somalia situation, and we don't want that. Thank you, my Lord. A question by
This is Tanko.
distinguished Senator Barry. Centers on the technicalities. A given a leeway for double interpretation. It may be interpreted this way by Mr. A, or it may be interpreted this way by Mr. B. Now, if something is technical, comes before the law, or before the courts.
Something technical before the court.
What we normally people who are expert. We rely on their testimony because they are experts in that field. Ask me anything on aeroplane, I don't know. Ask me to drive an aeroplane, I am sure if you are a passenger and they told you that that flight is going to be driven by Honorable Justice Ibrahim Tanko, I am sure you get out of the plane. Because it is something that requires technicality. And if I have any technicality, my technicality will only be limited to law.
Unbelievable. I'm not going to punish the whole world any further with this. What this man is saying in essence is that to fly an aeroplane requires technicality of the law. Not technical knowledge or know-how, but requires technicality of the law. That is what the new Chief Justice of Nigeria is saying. And then the law itself can deal with a technical case. Unbelievable. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. I don't want the world to think all Africans are useless. Maybe I need to end this program because what we are witnessing tonight is unprecedented. Unprecedented. Anywhere on this earth. Unprecedented. Flying an aeroplane is about technicality. Technicality in the court of law is technical. I feel sorry for our people. Whoever created this, it won't be well with you. It can never be, I assure you. Now, we proceed. The term legal technicality is, according to some people, is a casual or colloquial phrase referring to a technical aspect of law. In other words, technicality means law, not aeroplane. Some legal technicalities govern legal procedure, enable or restrict access to court, and or enable or limit the discretion of the court in handing down judgment. In common law, technicality is key. As I said before, it is that unseen hand that holds everything together to make sure that everybody follows the proper rules and procedure. Because without proper rules and procedure, there will be no rule of law. That's what it means. That is why they can wake up and arrest anybody. They can abduct you and put you in jail. Because we black people don't actually know what the law is all about. You see them, oh, bail is free. You see them with the poster, bail is free. But they arrest somebody. You go to bail them, they ask you to pay money. You go to court and ask the court to squash the case that your law says that bail is free. Tell you no, it's technicality. We must try the case. And you're telling me these are human beings. Oh, of course they are not. The bungling, ignorant buffoon that you call your Chief Justice said it was the British that introduced technicality. You want them to say this? Britain introduced technicality into their laws. Jesus Christ of Nazareth. The British introduced technicality. Which backward Sharia court today excavates this verdict from? From where did they bring it from? Let's say that he made a mistake about technicality and technical. What has Britain got to do with introducing technicality in their own law? Technicality means that you must adhere to the rules of engagement. Simple. If the law says you must serve the defense team papers 7 days before trial, you do it. Oh, dear me. I have played the footage. This very Fulani Chief Justice, this very Sharia Fulani Chief Justice is ignorant of the duties and responsibilities of a shorty because he went in to talk about Akaribe. Case, of course. Because he is ignorant of the constitutional protections for an accused person. He doesn't know constitution because Sharia is about cutting off your hand and your head. They don't know what it's about. Is he guilty? Yes, he's guilty. Let's cut off his head. But I know they don't adjudicate. There is no cross-examination. No time for evidence. Then he doesn't. No, just cut off his head or his hand. That is the idiot they brought to be your Chief Justice. He said, my goodness. Anyway, he's clueless about the powers of the judiciary. And he's the one heading it. And he doesn't know what he's doing. And the reason why I say that the Zoom is in trouble is many with the installation of these Sharia magistrates who can't even speak simple common English. I'm not talking about the big vocabulary for which some of them are known after drafting the speech for nearly 2 months. I'm talking about simple, rudimentary English, passable English. The one can converse with, he cannot. And he's going to head a judicial system that operates under the English language. That is fire on the mountain. When a defendant fails, this is the issue how it works in their own laws, as in my case. Because it can't make a reference. When somebody runs away, they ran away. This running away nonsense was what the Yoruba media concocted, some of them, with the help of Tinubu. You know why they did it? Because they know you are black and you're foolish. If they keep talking about running away, you forget the fact that the army came to my house with 2 attack helicopters, with 2 bombers, jets, with an entire battalion of soldiers to come and kill people. And I said to this, his name is Ibrahim Muhammad Tanku. And I said to him, before I proceed, let me just educate some people who are foolish enough, regurgitating this nonsense all the time. He said, and if you bail somebody and the person runs away, I will play the clip for you later on. Let me just leave the merits of the attack on my house to one side, because what he seems to be saying is that you can attack anybody and kill them or try to kill them outside the law, and will still ask you to bring the person to court. It does not make any sense to the human being. Where is Nigeria, of course? Idiocy is what makes sense. Let me ask Muhammad Tanko and all Muslims in the zoo, including some in Yoruba media that peddle this all the time. Do you know the history or the story of Prophet Muhammad? May peace be upon him. Do you know his history? Do you know that Prophet Muhammad ran away when his life was in danger from Mecca to Medina? Are you aware of that? So, Prophet, the religion you're following, their prophet ran away. Your prophet ran away from Mecca to Medina. But you're a devout Muslim, so you claim, because you're a Sharia court judge or magistrate. But when they're writing it, he said, I'm actually in a very exalted company. The life of Moses was threatened in the palace of Pharaoh, and he fled Egypt to the land of the Canaanites. Before I will come to tell you what these people accomplished, let me reel out some of them for you. Jesus Christ, the mother took him on a flight to Egypt. George Washington fled from the British. Nelson Mandela before came to Igbo land, if you don't know, to stay before he went back. You know what funny thing is that all these people I've mentioned, they all returned and claimed victory. And so shall I return, as I'm keep telling you I will return and I will claim victory. That's how it is. So when you think you are mocking yourselves, remember this very truth, that my path is following the paths of very great people that have gone before me. Now you understand it? So if I run away, as you claim I did, without referencing the fact that you sent your soldiers to come and kill me, it is now very clear there was Nigerian state in conjunction or in collusion with the judiciary that asked them to kill me. I know it's not very clear for all to see, isn't it? That is why he said he ran away. But of course, so did your Prophet Muhammad. So where does that place me? So when next somebody out of spite calls me a Lord or their personal savior, you will understand. Because what happened to me was exactly what happened to all those great men. Now you understand it, don't you? Let's continue. When a defendant fails to appear for trial, such as in my case, the court automatically or summarily revoke the bail. Never. You will investigate the circumstances, or else, anytime, let's say your brother owns a duplex in Abuja, and I want to take it, I'm a foreigner, I want to take it. I'll go to Pinta Nyako and tell Pinta Nyako, please, we are going to arrest that man, please. Once you arrest him, we'll bring him to your court. Your terms, in your bail terms, I want you to say that you need somebody with a duplex in Asokoro to shut him. Once you have delivered your judgment and his brother has come to take him on bail, we will then go and kill him or scare him away or go and do something very horrendous so that we will disappear him. And then we'll come back to your court and ask you to ask that his brother that took him on bail to either forfeit his house or go to prison. It's very simple. It's neat and very clean. You know how corrupt the zoo is, and they do it every day. Some of you don't know that. That's what this man is trying to say. So you don't investigate. What is the essence of having a law court if not to investigate the circumstances surrounding a case? You don't want to investigate. Because you don't like IPOB agitation led by my humble self. That is why it's this level felony. When there is no part of your law that says I should not agitate. We've been asking them, show us in your law where it says that agitating for Biafra is a crime. They don't have it till today. I'm waiting for Mr. Yoko to reconvene my case. Because they are all Sharia people. What do they know about common law? Nothing. Instead of you to hold the army responsible for coming to my house, the whole Chief Justice is campaigning, telling Abaribe, because Abaribe exposed him, of course, that he's dumb. Ordinarily, bail should not be given, but bail was given. We don't want to take your money or your house, but sometimes you take your money and your house. It's from a Chief Justice of the nation. So what you're saying, in essence, is that the army can go and kill whoever they want. DSS can do whatever they like. There is no protection under your law. That's what you're saying. And you're the Chief Justice of the Federation. Nobody sends any shorty to jail anywhere in the world. It is not done unless you investigate the circumstances first. Ask yourselves, why is it that Binta Nyako doesn't want to investigate the case of the army invasion of my house, as argued by the lawyers of Abalibe? They can't do it because they don't even know how to apply that law. There is a procedure enacted by the laws of the zoo that which the court must follow. There is a rule. Their Akaja, their so-called rule governing the administration of justice is the Akaja is the Administration of Criminal and Justice Act, whatever it's called. Akaja, they call it, which every useless lawyer must know. There is a procedure there in their own laws for forfeiting bail. Before you forfeit bail, the law says the same Senate and I believe sitting in, they made a law that said before you forfeit bail, there are some things you have to do. The question is, has Binta Nyako's court done that? The answer is no. Because they know that the court went down. Binta Nyako knows that once she delves into that very case, our lawyers will call the army to come and testify before an open court. Also, that is why they don't want to bring them. Now you understand what is happening with you and how useless they all are. This very process must be repeated, phase after phase, stage after stage. Because their section 179, subsection 1 of their own law states that, and I quote, when it is proved to the satisfaction of the court by which a recognizance has been taken, when the recognizance bond is for appearance before a court, and it is proved to the satisfaction of the court that a recognizance has been forfeited, the court shall record the grounds of proof and may call on any person bound by the bond to pay the penalty thereof or to show cause why it should not be paid. After looking at the circumstances, you now reach a decision. The Binta Nyako jumped to this decision without going through her own legal process in front of her. And she's a judge from Sharia. The same thing with this Tango. We are judge from Sharia. They don't know common law. They don't understand what common law means. Anybody reading this, even a layman, or listening to me now or later, can see from the process in their own akja that you must first start with a written, not oral order. You must write a written order to show cause, which must be served on the shorties. They have not done it by anybody today. Because they can't. Once you serve that very order, Abaribe's lawyers will now respond, citing Operation Python Dance, the invasion of my house, and calling witnesses. That is what they don't want the world to see. To watch those videos of the invasion of my house and the death of my men. That is why they don't want to call the case. She'll come to court. Hey, you must forfeit or you go to jail. We kept quiet. When the time came, to buy a law. We are their friends, we are learned. We gave her the law. I said, can you jump this loop? She said no. Instead, she adjourned Sindai. You're intelligent, you are, don't you? Very, very intelligent, I tell you. Open their office fine, not by English. You're very intelligent. So, before we take the issue of the forfeiture, first dispose of the issue of the military operation and its legal impacts on all affected parties in the order. They don't want to discuss it. He ran away. If you tell somebody, and some corrupt Yoruba Islamic jihadi press will be right every blessed day. So in your stupidity, you forget. Is Prophet Muhammad a coward? Is Moses of all people a coward? Is Jesus Christ a coward? If they are, then nnamdi Kanu is. Now you understand where we're heading, isn't it? The defendant in the case is my humble self. I'm talking about this because he alluded to it. The time now is approximately 30 minutes past the top of the hour, wherever you are. 30 minutes past the hour. It's a live program we're presenting to you. My humble self. My duty is to appear in court, yes. It is also my duty then to stay in my house and be killed. Is that my duty as well? By a gang of illiterate Fulani soldiers. They have declared me a terrorist, but Fulani headsmen and bandits are being negotiated with. I don't blame them. I blame Nyawodo. I blame your so-called Southeast governors, Dave Omahi, Obianon, Ubrani, Ibaso. These are the culprits. These are the people that asked the Fulanis to come and kill me. To kill IPOB. These are the culprits. I see some people inviting them, come to a New Year festival. Some idiots in Spain will get people and will deal with you pretty sensitively. I'm telling you that, honestly. These are the men that planned for my execution. Nyawodo wanted me dead. God Fulani is to kill me. Today, Fulanis are killing people. Instead of chastising them in public, our consultative forum, northern elders are encouraging them, stay where you are and kill as many people as possible. And these are the people that some of you idiots call your leaders. Nyawodo and the Igbo governors. It can never be well with them, I assure you. It was the military that forced this decision on us. And the court, in other words, the court must consider whether it's right for the Nigerian government to send the army to my house to kill me and my parents and my people for an offense before a court. Not determined yet. They did not want me to go to Ogoni. Ogoni elders invited me, they didn't want me to go to Ogoni. That's number one. Number two, they didn't want me to Abuja because I told them I'm coming to give the men. They came to kill me. And some of you are clapping for them because they brought death to my house. One day, death shall befall the zoo. And it's coming here anyway. And so you see how sweet it is. People head your villages and you're complaining. Only 2 or 3 headsmen come to your village and you're screaming. A battalion came to my house with the support of Nigerian Air Force to bomb my village to the kingdom come. And you're chatting rubbish and talking nonsense. Only a few headsmen came to your village and you're crying. An army came, an entire division came to my house. Now you understand that we are stronger than you. Before the court turns its attention on the shorties, they must first of all reckon with the fact that they sent the army to come and kill me. That is what Tanko is not factoring in. Because the army coming to kill me is a technicality which, according to their Supreme Court, should be ignored. If I'm not safe in my house, who is going to guarantee my safety on my road to Abuja? Who will give me the escort I need? The same army? The same police? You see how foolish black people are, especially Nigerians. You see how hopeless they are. You see how I've run out of adjectives to qualify them. So you see why you're never equal to a white man. Because even at the height of their wickedness, a white man cannot be this cruel. The reason why God abandoned black people, Africans especially, is because of our wickedness. And as my wife is saying, once you're wicked, you combine that with ignorance, then there is trouble. That's what's happening in Africa, especially in this zoo called Nigeria. And only Biafra can change that, of course. We must continue. There are a plethora of test cases. I'm not going to go into that because they don't understand. They don't understand even their own laws. Because it is very, very sad that people exist without reading. They don't read, they don't study, they know nothing. There are processes written in their own laws that says you just don't jail a shorty. It is written down in black and white. You must go through the process and ask yourself, why did this person not appear in court? You must solve that problem first. So if they had succeeded in killing me, what will happen? They'll say I'm a terrorist, and some of you will buy it. Because you are black, you have no conscience. You are born wicked, and that is why you are in a hopeless, poverty-stricken situation in Africa and being chased about in America like wild beasts because of your wickedness inside you. But I thank Elohim, the Lord of hosts, for IPOB. Because in the next 100 to 200 years, people will remember IPOB and say, indeed, they are the light of the world. We represent